All right. Hello, everybody. I'm the talented Mr. Taco, and this is the Daily Sporting. Today, we're going to be covering UFC 252, which is Miocic versus Cromier, Part 3. This one's for Legacy. Dave, how you feeling about this one? I know you
Just like
talked about it for
everybody
a
else,
while.
just like Dana said, I'm excited. Stipe is, Stipe is the man. DC is the man. Both of these guys, honestly, for me, aren't going to drop stock. I think DC on the press conference, he was talking. They couldn't have been nicer to each other. They almost like I feel like they were going to call a fight together, which it was cool. It's almost like I don't even want to see them fight. I just want them to stay 1-1 and
Mhm.
just retire. I don't know. That's how I felt watching the post. The pre-fight. I don't know, man. I think that these guys, no matter who wins, their stock for me is not going to drop. I like them both.
Sure,
When
sure.
DC was fighting Jones, I'm a big Jones guy. So for me, I like, of course, when we're not talking about Jones, then, in this conversation, Stipe, DC, I'm going to go, Stipe all day. But I'm just excited. I'm excited. There's a lot of people.
We're definitely going to dive into a full breakdown on that. But
Mhm.
before we get into that, I want to touch on some of these earlier or undercard events. In the first undercard event, we have John Dodson at 22-11 versus Marib Davilish at 11-4. I'm
Yeah,
sorry for messing up
yo,
any
he's
names.
he's he's a beast. I mean,
Oh,
I know
Marib.
he trains out of Long Island, I believe, with Matt Serra, and Aljamain Sterling. Uh,
Which one is training out here?
Mara, Murray,
Marib. Okay.
yeah, and
MD.
he's, huh?
MD. We're gonna call
Yeah,
him
yeah.
MD.
I mean, he comes forward. He's honestly he's a real good fighter.
Mhm.
I got my stock on him. He was training with Aljamain, who's the number one contender
Mhm.
of the flyweight or featherweight, one of the flyweight, maybe flyweight,
Mhm.
bantamweight, one of them, whatever. And he yeah, I mean, he ultimately had a good workout in the hotel. He was saying, just staying strong and training with some top guys, that's going to put you at a top level type performance. And he's gotten better every fight. So I like him a lot. I think he's going to do well. I think if you're putting money down, I'd probably put my money down on him.
Awesome. And then in the next undercard is Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda. Herbert Burns is 11-2. Daniel Pineda is 26-13 with two NCs. So
Yep.
who you got over there? I mean, you're talking about Burns. I think he has a brother in the UFC. Is that correct?
You think you can't say you think is Gilbert Burns is the number one contender clearly in the welterweight. We all know what happened there, but
Mhm.
his brother, yeah, Herbert. I mean, he looks good. These guys are bad boys, man. So I would say that I would go with Herbert all day. And that one to me, not that it'll be an easy fight, but I just think that that's where the fight is going to lean towards.
Sure. And Herbert, from what it's looking at, he has a 2-inch height reach, and then he has about almost 4 inches in arm reach. So he does have some height and size in this matchup, which usually plays pretty well. And
Right,
then we're getting to the big three fights of the night. The
right.
first is going to be another heavyweight fight. You got Junior Dos Santos versus Rosenstruck. Junior is 21-7-0, and then Rosenstruck is 10-1. So this sets up to be an interesting matchup. Dos Santos has been a long time, big time player.
Yeah, I mean, JDS is I mean, I don't know. I guess, kind of call him a legend because he's been in the game for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, he needs a win. Whenever those big guys, need a win, they seem to squeeze out a win and stay in contention and in the conversation. But at the end of the day, these guys both lost to Ngannou. I really hate pronouncing some of the names wrong, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
What's his name again? Ros,
Rosenstruck is what it
yeah,
looks like.
Rosenchuk, whatever. And I
Mispronounce
apologize
your
for
name,
that.
sir. We're sorry. Please don't
I,
be
I, I apologize, but it's hard to say his name. But I like him actually beating Dos Santos, even though Dos Santos needs to come out and get a victory. Dos Santos seems to be kind of doing well on social media nowadays, so he's been really picking that game up a little bit.
okay.
But I
Okay.
do like Dos Santos to have a good fight. These heavyweight boys come in there and they come out swinging and they move forward and they really get out of there in a hurry. I don't really see this one going long. I don't see it going three rounds. I see it ending probably in under a round and a half, to be honest with you. So I see this Dos Santos losing this one
Oh
by
wow.
KO.
Oh wow. Damn.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty interesting. So I mean, before we get to the final 4 fights here, we've had a lot of heavyweight fights over the last
Yeah,
two
so these two cards are really, I mean, they're pushing the heavyweight division. There was a lot of things going on in the heavyweight division, especially with Stipe and DC kind of being the DC's retirement fight. They want to get that ball rolling to seeing who's going to be the next stop after this fight. So I love that they're really, they had all these fights lined up on the heavyweight side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super interesting, and I know that in UFC, the heavyweight really's never been like the main division. I feel like the light heavyweight division, especially because of having John Jones in it, has been like the premier division where everyone goes for like the big belts. But I think what Stipe and Cormier, they've really elevated, I think, the heavyweight division. I think that's why Dana really holds these guys in such high regard and saying like this is for the best heavyweight ever in UFC.
Right, but here's the thing: there's a lot of great heavyweights right now.
Right.
That
Well, right now, but I mean, to this point, champion wise, these are probably the two best champions ever.
Well, that's definitely why this card is getting so much hype around, them doing a third. Definitely, these two are the most. I mean, Stipe defended the title 3-4 times,
Mm-hmm.
Or 3 times, and then he lost on the fourth title defense versus DC.
Mm-hmm.
It's just difficult to get in there and defend that title so many times against these bad big dudes. So DC, I mean, in Pride, he was just the number one guy. I mean, he had never lost in the heavyweight division until he fought Stipe. And whether, I know we were talking about it a little bit, and we were saying whether he's gonna make adjustments or not. Stipe is just a great champion.
Sure.
So I think he will find a way. That's my thought, but we'll get back to it. I know.
Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts on the Stipe DC that I would love to get your opinion on. But before we do that, I think we need to talk about probably one of the biggest rising stars in UFC right now, and that's Sugar Shane, or Sugar Sean, excuse me. Sugar Sean. I'm thinking of Mosley, the
I know.
legend.
I think a lot of times that happens to me, and it's because of that. I feel like I'm thinking boxing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not in a bad conversation to be in. When you're getting confused, or not confused, but mispronouncing some of those guys. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah. So we got Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera as the co-main event. O'Malley is 12-0. Vera is 15-6-1. So I mean, it looks like they're setting this up. O'Malley come out there. He has to get his job done and do what he's been doing. But he's calling Dana out and says, "I want a top 5 fighter after this. When I beat this guy, I want a top 5 guy."
And here's the thing. I mean, Sean has picked his shots. The problem about picking your shots is that when you're picking your shots, and you don't have top ranked guys, not even top 15 guys, it's hard to tell me that you're going to be in the conversation to be, fighting a top 5 guy. I know he's picking fights with Cody right now. There's no reason for people like Cody to really try and fight people like Sean O'Malley right now, because it's just going to put your stock way down. Now, here's the thing, though. Don't get me wrong. When you have this much excitement behind your name, like Sean O'Malley does, and you're out there 3-4 times in 4 months, you better believe that your hype is going to carry you beyond whatever the rankings say. There's one thing that boxing and UFC and anybody loves more than anything, and if you can put butts in seats, I don't care what that is or what that looks like, I'm gonna put you up against, and I know that Dana would put you up against anybody that is gonna sell. But he's doing it the right way too. So my point.
I mean, look at that last knockout that he had. It went super viral.
It was. Viral. Listen, I like Sean O'Malley. I love what he's about. I love his character. I love his personality. I think the confidence in UFC. If you're a fighter, you have to be confident. You're going out there fighting another guy in the ring. And if you look at all the tools and weapons he has, and the knockout power. I mean, I'm just impressed by this kid. I think that he's gonna another knockout victory is what's gonna happen here. They're talking about, that everybody's underestimating Vera, but I see him winning decisively again, and getting maybe a top 12, 15. Definitely he's going to get a ranked guy. He's not. I don't think he's going to get a top 5 guy. It would be too fast.
I mean, they do have him as co-main event on a heavyweight fight with the biggest.
But I'm a quote Perry.
in
I'm a
the
quote
world.
Perry on that. I'm a quote Perry. I mean, they've been putting people maining and co-maining, and it's almost like, I think Sean O'Malley deserves to co-main for sure because of the excitement he brings to the card.
Mhm.
But they've been putting guys in there sometimes, and I'm like, I wouldn't.
You don't think he's a ripe avocado yet? Do you think he should have stayed on the table a little bit longer before he got to co-main?
It's Sean?
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying that he's one of those guys. I'm saying that in general, that UFC had in the past put some guys that probably didn't deserve to be a co-main or even a main. So I was quoting Mike Perry was saying, like, it don't matter who you are nowadays, since you want to let everybody main. You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
Yeah, because you would think if what you're saying is true, where he hasn't really faced any like really guys that make you go, to get a co-main event now is kind of like you're creating him as a star, and that would lead me to believe that you might give him a shot after this, because it seems like Dana White at a top at a ranked guy, like you said.
Okay.
I think definitely. I don't know how high ranked, but I think Dana wants to give this guy a shot because, like you said, he has that star power. And he has star power like the two guys that are headlining the event, Cromier and Miocic. Both these guys have been doing it for a long time. Miocic is 19-3. Cromier is 22-2. You're looking at two of the best ever. They both have losses to each other and wins versus each other. I mean, this is going to be, for the legacy.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, just to kind of like to really touch a little bit on Sean O'Malley a little bit more, I think that really he's gonna put on a show that's going to give him a guy, and it's going to give him the opportunity to continue that. This isn't a hype train derail. I really don't think that this is one of those situations. I mean, this guy's exciting. He's got power, and he can really put you out in a lot of different spots. So it's exciting. I'm excited about that fight. There's really 3 cards on three fights or 4 fights out of the 5 I'm excited about. So it's going to be a good card.
Yeah. And so now with this heavyweight, I mean, I know you have been Stipe crazy over these last couple of weeks, thinking how Stipe is going to go in there and end DC's career on a bad note when he's in the booth having to eat that crow all day long, knowing that he lost twice to Stipe. How do you feel about that? You think he's going to write history like that?
But listen, the UFC fan in me would love to see Jones go up to heavyweight, beat Cormier again in the heavyweight division, which everybody says that it's possible if DC wins. He doesn't necessarily retire. He fights Jones at heavyweight because he knows he feels like he has the advantage, and and maybe that's the spot that he should have fought him in the beginning. But listen, I've met Jones. Think wonderful person, if you ask me. I know I know that there's so much stuff there, but at the end of the day, I'm sure DC is also great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, as a fan of the game, that part of it, if DC wins, that's the only thing that I would be hoping that happens, that Jones moves up. I hope, frankly, Jones moves up and fights any of these guys. But if we focus on today's fight, on Saturday's fight, yeah, man, I've been Stipe all day long. And Stipe, I think, is, to me, the greatest heavyweight of all time. And I'm putting my money on Stipe. I think that he's going to have a great fight. I think that, DC keeps talking about how if he goes to the body again, he's made these adjustments where it keeps the tall guy's got to open up when he does body shots. I'm going to tell you something right now. He's going to pick those spots. He's not necessarily going to be just punching and waiting for you to hit him. So I'm going to just say, watch out. He's not just going to attack the body. I think he's going to do a lot more. I mean, but he had a lot of success with that. So maybe that's his Achilles heel.
Well, I mean, if we go back to Stipe versus Daniel part 2, in that fight, Cormier was taking it to him, especially in those early rounds. He was really working him. But in the 4th round, you really saw that Miocic made a change that he hadn't been doing in any of the fights prior. He really started concentrating on the left side of his body, and first of all, Cormier didn't look like he was in great shape during that fight because he was huffing and puffing, and he looked like he was in the start of the third round. He started to get gassed, but in that fourth round, when he started going to the body, DC had no counter for that. If you're telling me DC spent this whole training camp and he got a full training camp working on guarding the body and getting ready to take him back to the ground, and he couldn't go to the ground because he was coming off of a back surgery, and seeing how he's been training for this, I think DC's coming with the upset, man. I think DC was looking really good in these fights versus Stipe, and if Stipe didn't make that adjustment, he would have lost the second fight for sure. For sure. If he doesn't make that adjustment, the champ is two-time champ instead of,
Here's the reason why this is this no, bro. Yeah, I mean, exactly no, bro. I really don't think that DC is gonna win this fight, man. I think that Stipe was champion for such a long reign for a reason. He's not gonna just open up and get him in the body, or he's got more tools on his belt. I feel like people are so focused right now on, because he won that fight just with those body shots and body adjustments he made. Stipe's a smart fighter. He made adjustments in that fight. He'll make adjustments in this fight when he needs to. DC's he's a smart fighter too. But if you hear what some of his coaches said, I mean, he definitely ignores some of the things his coaches say, but he's been a champion.
And the same thing can be said about Stipe. After he won that fight, he said, "What changed? I finally listened to my coaches," and he started going to the body, because that's where, I mean, if you're a taller guy like that, you should be attacking his body, because if you look at Cormier was just in the middle of the ring saying toe-to-toe, "What's up? Let's fight." But the thing about Cormier in that second fight, he couldn't go to the ground. And I think that's the biggest advantage that DC has. Because in the first fight, he used his wrestling and he took him to the ground and was able to start getting control of the fight.
I don't buy that he couldn't take him to the ground nonsense. Here's the thing: he's not just going to get taken down.
I'm agreeing with Donut. I think DC definitely has to wrestle out this time.
I think so too. I mean, I agree. I agree for sure.
First fight was a fluke.
Cormier wants to keep his hands open. That's the thing I did. That's true, and that's exactly what they're saying.
DC has 2 eye pokes in both matches. And the first one, he got warned by the refs to keep his hands closed, and the second one he caught him really early. So DC,
I mean, he ripped his cornea, his retina. He ripped his, and they keep asking Stipe, "Oh, are you wearing glasses now because of that?" I agree with Donut, man. I mean, he's right. I think a lot of the hand motions and hand movement was really scratching, so, and that affected his fight.
I mean, I think it's going to be really good because both these guys have great legacy. I think that they're both going in knowing that if they win, they could be the GOAT of this division. And I think that with seeing how the heavyweight division is having this resurgence, it just kind of gives you that like extra giddy up, especially if you're a guy like Stipe who's planning on staying in and who's having fun.
Yep.
So I think that's interesting. I don't think DC wants any part of John Bones Jones, though. He literally said, "I'm going to retire. I don't really need to do this. I'm happy where I am in life."
Well, I'm interested in this question. I'm interested
in
this question right here, because he said, "Have you guys seen it in slow-mo, the breakdown clip where it literally where he's literally flicking his fingers in his eyes?" See that, I haven't seen that, and to me, for all the dirty tactics that he talks about his fights with Jones, and that knee kick, but yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
We'd love to see it. Absolutely.
That obviously those pokes affect a fight. I mean, tremendously. And the fact that Stipe still managed to squeeze that out and made those adjustments and went to the body and got that W. I think that as long as we don't get pokes, right? If we don't get some of those eye pokes, I think Stipe wins this one, not necessarily decisively, but he's going to definitely win this fight. And to me, he's going to be solidified as one, if not the best heavyweight of all time. And yeah, I think DC, he had his moment. Here's my big thing about DC. And they keep asking him about this, about how he's had, you get these moments in your career. Well, I think he missed his moment. He had a champ situation, if you ask me, I understand the champ situation was a good moment for him to move up and fight Stipe, and he got the W. he should have retired then. The fact that he did Stipe a solid and did the rematch because he really had to, and then lost. This is going to really do a lot to damage his his legacy as one of the top heavyweight guys. I mean, not the top heavyweight guy, but it's going to do something to damage that standing. He probably drops, a little bit from that Mount Rushmore. So he's got to win this fight if he really wants to be solidified as one of the top guys.
Yeah, and I remember watching his take. He literally was saying that he's doing it so you can't remove his seat at the table for his legacy. So he's really taking this one seriously. I don't think he wants to come back and face Jones. So this is it for him. Because let's face it like this: if he's fighting for legacy, and you're telling me that then you have to go face John Jones, who's messed you up every time.
One thing his coach said was, "There's one thing DC loves more than anything." When they asked him, "Does he think DC would fight Jones after this?" and he said, "Money." So, hey, thanks, Dona. We appreciate it. We're gonna check that out because I definitely am interested in seeing him. I saw the pokes. When he was doing that, that was a big thing that to me I didn't like. And Stipe, Stipe mentioned it, but really the fans, not the fans, but the media really is a big DC fan favorites. He's a commentator,
well, he is
great
in the
commentating. So I mean, that's where you have it, guys. We definitely wanted to give you guys a little bit of our prediction as to where it's gonna go. Hey, appreciate some of you guys interacting. Dona, thank you for posting that. We'll definitely check it out and do a little bit more coverage. We're gonna do the post fight too, so we'd love for you guys to come back and check us out and get on the show with some of those questions.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, we definitely want to thank you very much. I mean, we know we've been really hyped for this fight. We've been talking about it for a while. The UFC has made this out to be probably the fight of the summer. I think that, UFC really was the first one to come back and give us some sports. And I think everyone has really followed on the hype train. All these past events have been doing great. I've loved watching them. I know, Dave, you've been betting on them and enjoying them. So I know we're really excited for it. And, I just want to thank everyone that's out there supporting us, commenting, and helping us out. Don't forget to give us a subscription.
I like it. That's true, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. Come check us out. Definitely like, share, and subscribe, man. We appreciate it. On our YouTube too, we're gonna launch. This was live on several different platforms, so we're gonna also relaunch it on YouTube today in a little bit. So definitely, we appreciate the support, guys. Definitely, the question and interaction. We love talking to people like yourself. We're fans just like you. We're filmmakers and all this stuff. Definitely excites us about the brand, the sport, and just stay tuned.
And the last thing I want to say is stay tuned to our IG and Facebook because we're going to be posting the Vegas Snake Eyes parlay bet of the night where we're going to show you the bets that Dave is actually taking this weekend on that fight. So you'll get to see where he's putting his money out.
We're going to try and have a couple of guys that lay some bets. We're going to try and have Andrew. We're going to try and have Jeff. We're going to try and have a couple of people, some of our guys that have placed some bets or UFC guys, and just show you where they're maybe laying some of their handle money. And, yeah, man, we appreciate you guys, though.
All right, guys. You have a wonderful night. I thank you for spending your time with us. We look forward to the fight, and we look forward to helping you guys out in your fantasy leagues and with your sports bets. So have a wonderful night and get ready for an epic battle on Saturday. Peace.